On today's video, we're back to the Civilization series. And I don't know, maybe this will give me more views, because all the videos lately seem to struggle to get to 100 views. So maybe this is what we needed. And the first thing to happen is this nation central government completely loses grip of what's going on in this country, and it starts to collapse. With this area deciding it's had enough. Yeah, the state decides they'll go independent. And I don't even have a name for them because there's so many. Maybe I'll just start naming them and we won't have this issue of me not knowing what to call stuff. But well, yeah. And this region leaves, which is pretty much all the north. And literally, since the central government fell apart in this country, it's literally just breaking apart. I'm literally trying to give it good borders. Because all the other nations here have bad borders. So why don't we fix that? And with this country forming, maybe this is bad borders. Literally fixing the borders one step at a time. Till it is reduced. This empire is reduced to like its main area. With this state leaving, because why not? And well, one more state leaves. I'm trying to up-number the amount of nations too. It's unrealistic to have massive nations at the time and frame we're at. Especially in the middle of a desert where there should be lots of nations. And while some of the nations up in North America start to have trouble. With this nation having a problem because these people feel neglected by the government. And why does their borders look like that? Because they decided to have it like that. And with the nation that controls parts north of the Great Lakes having trouble because a nation forms right here and decides that they're unhappy with their people being oppressed by this nation and go in and grab them, with a nation unable to deal with this, failing to deal with it. As well, some of the eastern parts of this nation decide independence is their way to go, with this area declaring independence. And well, the nation's falling apart, so that's why stuff is happening. With a few nations having fallen apart in this episode, let's see a nation expand. With them slowly expanding into the Amazon. And well, this nation slowly expands across these mountains. Basically the Inca Empire of this timeline. Except there's civilizations everywhere. And what if there was an hour time, but they just never told us it and hid the truth about how many nations actually existed? And that's why there's only like the Inca and Aztecs that people talk about. Maybe that's it. With this area, but since multiple things, usually jungles have more people living there, because I guess the climate leads to more people living there, maybe. Because there's usually more ethnicities near the equator in different groups of people. With another jungle nation forming, and well, the colonizers, I guess we can call them, decide to take the rest. The bigger nations will fall eventually, but the smaller nations might rise. And well, every nation probably has its problems. But when your problem is falling apart because you have too many places now, that's like funny. You overtook everything, and then when you start losing everything, it's funny. With the Indian nation falling apart, well, that's not a big surprise that some of the nations here are falling apart more. Like, realistically, it's probably expectable, really. Overexpansion leads to over-collapse. And well, there's more and more nations in this region. Once all of the places are discovered, we'll start putting borders and use gray for the untaken lands. With some person thinking they can explore these lands. And they explore into the Arctic. They go up here with their group of people exploring. And well, they get to about here, and there's about 10 people left in this journey. And well, that's as far as I get. before there's not enough people to know what's going on. So let's try it again by a different group of people to go up north. And they have success because they pick a good time and they get used to the climate up here. And well, let's say they continue up here as a culture forms. Let's say a nomadic tribe or something discovers this and draws maps, maybe. And they decide to sell it to one of those countries. So now these lands are discovered. And let's say this northern nation of a northern culture decides to go up north to see what's there. As they should be used to northern harsh climates, they take over this island. And they're like, hey, that's a great idea to expand into it. Let's say they do that. But they don't go all. And then they take the rest of the island, let's say, to the discovery of the rest of it. With some tribes going up there into here, and a few countries expanding to see what's going on there. In this country, since it's full of a bunch of people who are gone crazy, I guess, they decide to go into the north more. Well, who should collapse now? Well, here is starting to get its shape, really, of something you would consider of this magnitude. But with this kingdom starting to fall apart, as one of the areas, one of the groups decide they want independence, which they think will go well, but like this country, the country they break free from, starts pushing them back. But the problem with this is that, well, this country knows they will win. As they march up, and once they take enough land, the country decides to surrender. Well, what would be the warfare? The most advanced weapons now are probably like basic guns, and maybe basic artilleries have been created. Yes, I would assume this is around when they would discover better weapons. And well, with a peace treaty, they decide to sign. And they take these lands, and the Orange Kingdom continues to occupy these. With other groups within this kingdom that's not like the main group, which is in the north, and not all the way over there. Well, some of the minorities decide, well, they deserve independence, such as this nation, which basically looks like an extension of that nation, but is not, according to the occupiers. And well, this nation decides this is not for them. And well, there's one more group that's not the main group that wants independence. Well, it's this group, and they claim this. But due to making it easier, they agree with this in a population exchange, I guess. So it doesn't happen again. But in the east, you can see giant nation. That nation goes too far north in the two main groups. And well, seeing other groups, hearing about other groups gaining independence, well, the small group here declares independence. And the Empire doesn't really do much, because this is like, let's say, a poor area of it. And well, this nation's starting to take form, with it becoming the major power. With it deciding to do something, a little invasion. Take some of the northern land. The nation they invade surrenders pretty quick, and they decide to take some northern land, right here, and take this, and free the group over here. We're getting ready for borders. I would say maybe next episode will be the last episode, or the rest of the world is discovered. But not really, because this group probably doesn't know that group exists. Which this group probably doesn't know that exists. That probably doesn't know that exists. Maybe it's heard of its existence, but doesn't know it exists. And while this red nation starts to fracture, as well, chances are their economy is too strained from too much people. Or maybe the area, the main area, which is around here, is greedy about the money, because this area, this group over here, declares its independence, stating that it's being neglected, along with another group over here, stating their will to leave, I guess you could say. And you see those dots? Well, they don't exist. They're just there. They will be dealt with once we have the chance to deal with them. Maybe I'll just trace all this on another map. With these nations thinking they were doing a good job by occupying these land, but well, their island area declares independence, and most of the green ones do. Like, probably from here to here, this is where they leave. And well, soon the borders will be on in a few episodes for the next season, which will be getting into, like, conquering more stuff than what's been going on now. Advancements of this empire basically being the French France of this timeline. You can say this is the Prussia of this timeline, I guess you could say. You could say this is the India of our timeline, of this timeline, but in our timeline it's India. That is, like, I don't know. This is like the Inca of our timeline. This is like the Aztec, let's say. This is like the Egyptians. But not really, because there's something else. But give them names. Just point to a certain nation and give it a name. And say where it is. Like where the location is. Around where it would be on this map. Just because, like, red could get confused between any of those reds. Say, if you say red nation, let's say blah blah land. Because let's say you name it that. Well, if you pick red, maybe you pick this red nation in North America. Say it. Although, doubtfully, this is called North America in our timeline, but in this timeline, it's not. But that's all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe. Bye, guys!